So Tina, welcome. Thanks for being on the show with us.
It's wonderful to be here.
Now, you started the charity Youth in Transition. Tell me, what does Youth in Transition do?
So Youth in Transition is a charity that looks after young people from the age of 10 to 24 who are struggling with anxiety, depression or suicidal ideation.
Wow, and this is becoming a really common problem, isn't it?
It's a huge problem for us in New Zealand.
So how did you get started?
Well, several years ago I was working with the victim support and police on the suicide bereavement team.
Wow.
So it was my job to go out to a suicide after it had happened and take care of the families.
Wow, that would be really harrowing.
It was really hard, yeah. And my middle daughter, who was 17 at the time, had 7 of her friends die by suicide in the space of just over a year. So she basically surrounded herself with all these other young people that were struggling to stay alive, basically, and sort of said, oh, my mum's an expert in this area, come and talk to her. So our house at the time was just filled with young people, you know, wanting to be together and wanting help. I mean, sleeping in my bed, I was stepping over them, my husband was in the spare room. It was just, absolutely manic.
So how many children were
there? There were at least 30 at the time.
So you literally just threw open the doors?
Yeah, we had to, because there was such, you know, these kids were hyper-vigilant, they were scared around who was going to be next, and there was nowhere for them to go because they weren't, you know, unwell enough to go into mental health services and in desperate need of help and support.
That is a catch-22. If they're not ill enough to go the conventional route, but not well enough to be safe.
And I mean, mental health services are absolutely stretched to the limit. Many of my colleagues work for them, so I know what it feels like. But there's a huge need just for these kids to be together and talk about the friends that have died and look at ways of keeping themselves safe. I mean, fortunately, these kids are all doing really well now, so it was worth it.
How do you define the success that you've had? How do you know what's working and what's not?
So basically, the majority of young people that come to us are really in a very broken state and don't want to be here.
So they're literally contemplating suicide?
Absolutely, or may have already attempted suicide. So our success is measured by the amount of young people that are still alive and going on to do amazing things with their lives. And also they're helping other young people that are coming through the program. So they're mentoring young people. There's nothing better than, you know, a young person telling another how they've managed to get through some of the darkest times of their lives.
Because I imagine that the advice from someone who's been there would be much more powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because there's such a loss of hope. You know, we have amazing therapists and, you know, that we use, but it is holding that hope for young people that's really made a big difference,
And how do you look after yourself in all of this? Because this must be pretty challenging work.
That's a good question, because we have an amazing community of support up on the Hibiscus Coast. So we have women that cook for us, we have, you know, people that offer massage and all these wonderful well-being things. So it is important. But I think when I sit with a young person that maybe 2 or 3 years ago was, you know, thinking of checking out, to seeing what they're doing now and to see the way they come back, that is so inspiring. It's so worth it. So I think it's keeping that perspective, you know, and knowing that, we have made a huge difference to so many young people's lives.
And as you say, it's not just that one person, it's their parents and their family and their whānau. So where to from now for you?
Well, we've seen the charity grow at a huge rate recently. I mean, I'd like to make us redundant, but I think, you know, for the moment there is a huge need for anybody that's tried to get a young person into mental health services. They will know the struggle that is, and there's so much lack of resources. So I think for us, I mean, we've actually pulled together a huge amount of people on our journey that have helped us to help these young people. It's been amazing to just see the support that has come out.
Yeah. And when you look back to the start, if you had some advice for your former self, what would it be?
Oh God, probably don't do it, no. I don't know really. I mean, it's been a labour of love. Yeah. I've never regretted a moment of it. Yeah. You know, and it's just been something we dipped our toes in, and here we are years later, you know, knowing that we've helped so many people.
And there's plenty of people who, you know, they want to do stuff in the world, but, you know, maybe someone else will do it. What would you say to those people?
Well, I think we hear that all the time, because it's pretty scary being around some of these young people who don't want to be here. Yeah. But I would say jump in and do it, because, you know, the difference that it makes, even if you've just got a skill. Yeah. I mean, I know some people that have come on board to help me take care of myself. Yeah. You know, that in turn is helping me to help, you know, young people. Yeah. Furthermore, the young people just feel so connected and valued, and often that's all it takes. Yeah.
Well, Tina, you're doing an awesome job. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.